Good evening and welcome to this week's Black Mental Health is Black Health. I'm your host, Bronwyn Miss B, the Black Couch Therapist. I'm here and tonight we have an exciting guest, just like we always do. I've never had a bad guest. Not because of me, just the people are always awesome. So we always start off with some deep breathing. Why? Well, it allows you to decompress woosah from your day. So let's do it. I will count slowly to four, and I'll say breathe in and count slowly to four. I'll say breathe out and count slowly to four. And you will breathe in and out slowly for three deep cleansing breaths. Let's do it. Breathe in, two, three, four, out, two, three, four. In, two, three, four, out, two, three, four. One more. In, two, three, four. Out, two, three, four. How was that breathing for you, Felicia?
Oh, that was awesome.
Good, 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 good. So we are here, and as I always do, I will have my guests introduce themselves. So just tell us who are you, and definitely tell us something cool about yourself.
So, hello. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Felicia Lisa Williams. And something cool about myself is I love creation. I love to create things. I love to create moments. I love to create times. I just love creation.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we have a pretty heavy topic, and I want to first commend my guest for even wanting to share her story. But before we get started, if you like what you hear, like it, follow me, drop something in the comment, no matter, and share it. So we like for the word to get out. So I just wanted to say that as well. So our topic is from overcome to overcomer. Lisa has a story of being overcome with grief. And she's had a couple of issues in her life with grief, but we'll focus on one. Um, we're going to focus on one area of grief in her life. So, Lisa, what is this grief story you want to share with us?
Well, 2014, April 18th, my son was murdered. And I was already in grief from my brother. He had an aneurysm coming out of Walmart in February the 28th. So, Good Friday, that's when I found out my son was murdered at a park. And two people were shot, and he was shot in his heart. At 21 years old, I lost him. I lost him not to go to the military or to go to the Air Force, but I lost him due to death.
Wow. Can you share with us some of the details? When you say due to death, what happened?
Well, he was shot in a park in Arlington, Texas. A guy drove through the park, him and his friends, wanting to be, you know, what they call the bad person, want to prove himself. And he shot two people in the park. And my son, unfortunately, he was shot in his heart. Another guy was shot in his shoulder.
Mm,
So I had him at 21 and I buried him at 21.
wow. So it was basically a random shooter. The shooter, did he know him? Was this on purpose or?
No, he didn't know him at all. He was a police officer's son, I found out when we went to trial. And of course, they have weapons and they're taught at an early age, to go hunting and shoot and different things like that. And I tell people like this, you teach people how to drive when you get your driver's license, and you're not getting your driver's license just for yourself. You're getting your driver's license for people around you as well. And
Mm,
so the people that you accompany yourself with, can, it could be bad company, you
Yes.
know, just bad company. So it was a lot of kids out there. Unfortunately, two people, got shot, and I lost my son in the midst of that.
Wow. When we go through things like that, definitely that's a moment of being overcome and don't know how to manage it. When that happened to you, in after those times after, how did you process it? What were people like around you? Sometimes there are people who run away. I can't do that. Did you experience any of that?
Almost definitely, because I felt like a fish out of water at first. And then I'm trying to process what happened, thinking I was in a movie. I fell asleep. I'm going to wake up. This is not real. This cannot be my reality. And I remember coming out the water department one day because I forgot how to pay my bills. I forgot how to do, different things, because that's what trauma and tragedy it does to your mind, your brain. And so I walked in the water department. As I'm walking out the water department, a lady that I knew came up to me and she said, "You pray for everybody, kids. You pray for everybody in the community and you always praying." And she looked at me. She said, "Did you pray for yourself?"
Mm.
I said, "I did." And that's when she informed me that my tears were offensive. And I looked at her and I was shocked to hear her say that to me. And I said, "You mean my tears that's coming out of my eyes, my face, are offensive to you and others?" I said, "Have you lost a child?" She said, "No." I said, "Okay." I said, "Because I was going to tell you to teach me how to do this because I don't know what this look like." So to answer your question, yes, most definitely. I lost clients. I had a client to tell me she didn't want it to jump off on her child.
Didn't want being murdered to jump off. You're a cosmetologist, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so people didn't, I want to make sure we all hear this correctly. People didn't want you to do their hair because your son was murdered and they figured the murder would jump off on them. Someone
Yes.
said that to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to go back to the tears being offensive. So often we think of people not knowing what to say when someone is murdered. They just, I don't know what to say. When you don't know what to say, it's best to be quiet.
Mhm.
But um, it brings up this idea that in general, people can be really, it's not even just insensitive, but they don't know how to process um, negativity, sadness, grief. People don't know what to do. And the offensive, you need to just get over it. Well, you don't get over your son being killed, being
Right.
murdered. But people don't know what to say. And it's like, uh, well, just stop. That offends me. Wow, pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Well, on the other side, what kind of support did you get?
Um, I received support temporarily, and this is not just a temporary one size fit all or a quick fix.
Mhm.
And so I had people coming in and out telling me what they think. If they was them, I if I was you, I would do this, but you're not me. So, and you never lost a child. So how can you tell me what to do
Mhm.
when you're not in my shoes? You know, even retaliation and different things like that. And my son, he was a friendly guy. He loved people. He didn't see no, you know, he just loved people. And his sister would get so mad and be like, he always, want to be friend or having people as his friend and all this other stuff. And he loved people. That's just how God created him.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, him being this gentle giant, a friend to everybody, loving everybody, I hate to say it, it cost him his life.
Mm. Wow.
It did.
When thinking about people who were not there, and that's, real, what would you have liked to been around? We can think of the grievers and the supporters, those who are there to support you, those who may not know what to say, but they want to be there. I can think of some things, but tell me what you would have wanted to happen. then?
I probably would have wanted someone to come and stay with me for a while, check on me more, because you have to understand, I'm a person that's there for everybody, like a lot of people. But when it was my time for someone to be there for me, I didn't get the reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like a hit and miss. And they would come in and try to tell me all these scriptures, the cliches, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas,
Mm-hmm.
bring me alcohol, and I don't even drink. And, it was just, it was so much. And what I discovered, the people that I thought knew me, they didn't know me.
Mm. Now, that can be there are several things I want to comment on that. One, again, people don't know what to say and I'm going to give some tips. And often the grievers don't know how to receive. They don't know what to ask for. So you have this two-sided coin. One side you got the supporter, this side you have the griever. The griever doesn't know what to ask for. It's not even that I don't want you. I can't think. So if I can't even think, I don't know what to ask. And then you have the support. Well, I don't know what you need. If you tell me what you need, I'll give it to you. But I don't know what you need. Um, were you kind of in that? I don't know what to ask you. Like I said, just be here.
Yes, I was. I gave this example. When someone is knocking on your door from the outside, you cannot see them unless you look through the peephole. You cannot see what's on the outside of the door. They cannot see you on the inside of the door. So I tell people that the griever and the supporters are both grieving,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know how to help one another. So start the conversation on, okay, how can I help you through this process? Picking up the phone. Hey, did you pay your bill? I'm at the store. You need me to pick you up something from the store? Just the little things make a world of difference.
It can be. And those are some things I tell people who want to be the supporter. And in defense of the supporter, it is their loss and they're sometimes afraid, for lack of a better word, to even approach someone because I know they're hurt and I don't want to say the wrong thing. But some things you can do, like you say, pick up the phone. Hey, I'm headed to the grocery store. I know you like Cheerios. Do you have any in the house? I'll bring you a box. It can be that specific because it's hard for a person to ask for what they need. But if it's your friend, like you say, someone you know, or it's just, hey, I'm going to the store. What do you need? Oh, I don't need anything. You know you need something. What do you need?
Yeah.
And don't just take it kind of, you don't want to push too hard, but give a little pushback. Really, I don't mind. I'm doing this. And you open the door as a supporter to the griever because when you're grieving, part of it, you really don't know what you need. You don't know, is there food in my house? I don't know. I don't want to eat anyway. Why are you asking me about this? Or if you know they have a favorite restaurant and a favorite meal, take it without even just saying, I've got something to bring by. I'm bringing this. But people get so much food. But if it's something that's personal to them, it might mean something. Another thing is when my sister was going through cancer, one of the ministers at the church, who was a good friend of hers, talked about the ministry of presence.
Mm,
You're just there. You might just go and sit with that person. You
yes.
might go turn on the TV and not even know it was on, and you're just in there in their presence. When they want to talk, they talk. When they don't, they don't.
Yes.
And so sometimes it's just being there, physically being there. I don't know your thoughts about those things that I've just said.
Yes, most definitely. I tell people your presence speak louder than your words. They don't need all the cliches. They don't need the scriptures. They already know that stuff before this even happened. Don't be weird. Just don't be weird. Try to, you know,
What do you mean by be weird?
don't be weird and spooky as if a person has a
Mm,
disease, or don't isolate yourself too much because you wasn't isolating yourself before this incident happened. So when I say you being weird, you showing up and you tiptoeing as if you know there it goes or something gonna jump out at you. And I mean, it's weird. Be normal.
yes.
Just be
Just
normal.
be you. And it's okay to say, you know what? I don't know what to say. I know you're hurting. I haven't gone through this, but I'm here. Acknowledge it. That's the truth. If it's something you've never experienced, or maybe there are people you've never experienced death. You're in your 30s or 40s. You may have never experienced, no one close to me has ever died, so I don't know. Say it, but
Yeah,
I'm here for you. So if I need, you can say, so if I say something wrong, tell me. Or maybe you have experiences. I've experienced death. Maybe I've experienced the same thing. It was the death of a child, but your grief is your grief,
that's
mine is mine.
that's
And
right.
acknowledge it and say, if I say something offensive,
Yeah,
tell me I didn't mean it.
yeah,
But you're putting it out there. You're
yeah.
letting them know. Let me ask you this. You
And
talked, oh,
ask
go
them to
on.
teach you. Ask them
Yes.
to teach you how to handle you.
Yes. Because no one knows how to handle you better than you.
That's right.
And be open, but it takes courage on both parts to say
Yeah.
that. You mentioned, people throw out cliches in faith, in scripture. Oh, they're in a better place. They're this, they're this. How did the murder of your son affect your faith?
It shifted my faith because I was in the school of ministry, and when my son was murdered, um, I didn't know how to pray because I didn't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of people coming to me telling me that God needed another angel or God, needed a flower in his garden. And I'm like, well, my son wasn't a flower when he was alive. How he turned into a flower now? Just different crazy, weird stuff. Or, he's an angel now. And what? I mean, that's why I say don't be weird, be normal.
There's
My
another
son
one.
was a big, gentle giant, and we would call him Tree. And I would say, "You tall like a tree, taller than me."
And another one is they're in a better place. And someone I heard this they may be in a better place for them. They're not in a better place for me because I want them here.
Exactly. I want my baby back.
And acknowledging that. And you're right. Think about cliches. And I guess one thing I would say about using those cliches, turn it around and think about before I say this, how would I feel?
That's right.
What would this feel like for me to hear? They're in a better place, at least. And when people are ill, well, they're not suffering anymore. And that is true. And you are truly happy that that person is not suffering. But it reminds you that you're sad that they even had to suffer.
Yeah.
So we have to be very careful about the words we say because it can impact your faith. But I see you have what turned it around.
That's all I had when people left. I had nothing but God.
Hmm.
And so I remember one morning at 3:33, because after the incident happened at the water department, my emotions went inside out.
Hmm.
So I wasn't sad. I was angry. I was mad. And so God woke me up and he said, until you feel it, I can't heal it.
Mm.
Mm-mm. And I flipped over on the other side like I didn't hear him. And he said it again. Until you feel it, I can't heal it. Flipped over again. And I said, okay, God, I surrender because you're not going to let me go to sleep.
Hmm.
I'm ready to feel it now. Oh my God. It seemed like all of my insides was turning
Hmm.
inside out. And I'm balled up in a fetal position. And I'm saying, Jesus, 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 this hurts so bad. He says, so you can never say, I don't understand, because my son was murdered too.
Mm.
And I pulled even closer to him. And even though it was hard for me to read the word of God, I would listen to the word of God.
Hmm.
I would just listen to it audible because I just needed that encouragement and that strength. And it built my faith back up. So I didn't blame God. So what I did, I blamed the enemy because it was an enemy tactic, but God allowed it. And God allowed it because he could have stopped it.
And that's a hard one for some people too, to understand how God could allow it.
Yeah. Well, because God has all power in his hand.
Hmm.
And when you think about Job, he said, have you considered my servant? And so I said, well, God, did you put me on a chopper block? Did you put me on the front line? Did you tell the devil, the enemy, Lucifer, Satan, did you consider my servant Felicia, Lisa? So I'm on the front line. And I said, okay, now you work it out from here, God. What is it that you want me to do?
In that process, were you ever angry with God?
Um, I don't know if, to be honest, if I was
Okay.
angry at God, because everybody else left. And when they left, I had nothing but God to hold
Hmm.
on to. And so that's where the string of hope, what I call the string of hope that I saw, and that's the word, I just kept feeding myself more of the word of God and listening to worship and praise music.
And the reason I brought that up, and I just want to throw this out there for anyone who's listening, in a situation like that, if you do become angry with God, guess what? He already knew it. I'm different. I believe, yeah, you can be angry with God. I don't advocate staying there, but own it so God can work through it with you. When you're busy denying it, yeah, but it's real. It
Yeah.
is real. And sometimes it's at hurt. Anger is a part of the grief process.
Hmm.
And sometimes that anger can be directed to God. Why did you take my child? Da, da, da. Legitimate thought, legitimate feeling. And
But
God
you, I
knows it.
said that. I
Hmm.
said that. So I was probably angry when I said, well, God, where were you when this happened to me? Where were you when that bullet hit my son? And I remember standing in the bathroom and God said, it hit me first.
Mm.
He didn't even feel the pain, the sting, or the pain of the bullet because he was gone just like that. So I probably did go through some spats of frustration, anger, and whatever with God and just didn't know how to put word to it.
Right. And the reason why I say if you do own it because it's real and God can heal. It's like if you have something physically wrong with you and you don't go to the doctor and acknowledge, might not get your healing. I'm not
Right.
going to pray about it. I'm not going to ask God to heal me. I'm not going to the doctor to find out, well, how are you going to get your healing until you realize, hey, I've got a problem. And that's why I wanted to throw that out, that anger can be a real part of this process. What about your health? Sometimes when the name of the show is Black Mental Health is Black Health. And I say that health, physical health, mental health are different sides of the same coin. You impact one, you impact the other.
Mhm.
Did this process in any way impact your physical health?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I was having heart problems. I blacked out at the mall where I was rushed to the hospital. Um, yeah, it affected me a lot. I wasn't eating. I wasn't drinking water, drinking, so I needed that. And like I say, I had a couple of people will come over, let's walk, and we'll go walking in the park to get me out the house, which was good because I feel safe at home
Mm-hmm.
because I created a world in my head that out there was bad. It's a lot of people that's going to murder.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw it as dark, evil. So I had to go through that process of how I viewed the world, how I viewed my community, how I viewed, my neighborhood and just everything, how I viewed it. And so once I got reconnected back to reality, that I began to take those steps toward the healing process.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to remember there are steps to the healing process. It is not an overnight thing. You don't just necessarily wake up. I Grief is one of the issues that I deal with people in therapy, and recently I had someone say, "Well, I don't know if I finished grieving." Well, the person you love died in January. You probably haven't started grieving. And when you tell somebody that, And they weren't ready. I didn't even say that because they weren't even ready to hear that. Because you wait until I'm saying we'll see dog next week and you say that. Clients are good about dropping a bombshell after you say I'll see you next week. Um, I said we'll talk about it. But a lot of times when it comes to grief, regardless of whether it was murder, someone died of natural causes, they were ill, either way, when it comes to grief, we want to put a time limit on it. There isn't a time limit. And you may work through grief and you're doing fine, and all of a sudden, bam, something slaps you up against the wall. Not even the face, just knocks you into a wall, and you're back in that space. It may not last. It's not likely to last when you go back into it, but it can come back again. Have you ever experienced that? We're like, I'm good. It was, a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, I was getting ready to go to Philadelphia. My cousin sent for me, and while I'm in the airport, I'm just walking, and all of a sudden, from the behind, this basketball player, physique, everything looked just like my son, and I ran after him, and I hit him, and I said, "BJ, boy, I've been looking for you. Where you been?"
Hmm.
He turned around and he looked down at me and he said, and I just broke down, standing right there. I broke down and cried, and he grabbed me, like he lifted me up, and he said, "You thought I was your son?" I said, "Yes." He gave me the biggest hug, and he was a big, tall guy as well. Picked me up off my feet, and he was just hugging me and embracing me. And he said, "It's going to be okay."
Hmm.
And he said, "I'm glad that I look like somebody that you love and you care about." And he said, "I'm sorry. I got to go because I got to get on this flight. I'm a basketball player." And I was like, "Huh?" So, yeah, you know, sometimes we're looking for our loved ones, we're looking for signs, the flickering of the lights, or, just different things that show up,
Hmm.
that people have said, and, whatever.
It's true, and and maybe that was just your angel. Um, it wasn't a chance meeting, someone to tell you that it's okay. Maybe that was just an angel
Yeah, right.
in that moment. As we wind down because the time is about out, I want to ask you, do you have any words of encouragement you'd like to say? Just one final something with words of encouragement.
Yes, I would like to say, be okay not being okay. If
Hmm.
you're not okay today, it's okay. Don't, and give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up because today is not a good day. Give yourself grace and a little dab of mercy. And then love you, hug yourself when there's no one else around. Give yourself love. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Be gentle with, and I always say, give yourself the grace you want you would give somebody else because we often give better grace to others than ourselves. Before we close, I want to let you know I am sponsoring what is called a silent summit. It is 6 hours where you come and you'll be in nature. This is those who are in the DFW area, right here in Arlington, Texas, on 5 acres of land. You'll have your own little tent, your own little thing, everything you need to master this silence. So if it sounds like, what is she talking about? Be silent. I want you to go to my website, which is at blucaslpcs.com, and click on the events tab and you'll find out about it. But it's an opportunity to connect with yourself. If you're going through grief, that'll be a good thing. If you're just a stressed out parent, that's a good thing. A stressed out employee, if your life is going good, It's time to regroup and say, okay, God, what can I do now? I know you got me in a good place and it's going to get better. Whatever stage you're in life, it's good to just, you'll be off the grid. We'll be generous enough to hold your cell phone for you and your watch for part of this time where you're just silent. So check out my website, blucaslpcs.com, and find out about the Silent Summit. I always end with a call to action. And my call to action tonight is this. If um, if you know someone who's going through grief, don't be afraid to reach out and ask them what they need. If you're going through grief, allow yourself to ask others what they need. Um, check, just be there. And I always say, vote, vote, vote. Be an educated voter because how you vote impacts every area of your life. And there was a comment when someone said she wishes her sister was here. Her daughter was murdered 2 years ago, and she still has not come out and do anything, and she cries every day. Um, and I will say you can contact me, and I will connect you with Lisa.
Yeah.
All right, thank you again for Lisa and for all of you that were here tonight. And I will see you next week. Have a thriving Thursday. Bye now.